Welcome to the Tenaciously Resolute Podcast. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the Tenaciously Resolute Podcast. It's a pleasure being here with you guys, and tonight we're chatting with my good friend. Some of you may know him as a musical ambassador, I could say. You understand? In the Christian community, and some of you may know him as your resident tech guy. I welcome to the podcast, Mr. Joshua Powder. So Joshua, how are you going?
My good. Thanks for having me on. Just vibes, Good to be here.
Always. Guys, so recently I've been noticing that Joshua has been doing some incredible work with technology, and since we as a nation, especially our youth, are looking towards technology as our future, Joshua, what is all of this thing that we are seeing with AI and app development? What's happening with that?
Well, recently I have sort of embraced my potential when it comes to, I guess, coding, actually building complex systems and stuff like that. I always had an inclination for it. However, for some reason over the last couple months, it has really taken root. I guess because the conversations online, the problems that I've been seeing surfacing online, people are more passionate about the problems, especially given the tension in the region as of recent. And so I've been finding more and more ways to build solutions and implement solutions, really just embracing my, I guess, solution builder side. So that's all it really is, just excitement and building stuff.
But that's very interesting because, I mean, from the point of view as someone who is just a day-to-day user, I'm seeing these solutions playing out in the THA. I'm seeing these solutions playing out in terms of analyzing data in certain space. How did you come about learning to build these apps? I mean, that is so unique because there's not many people on the island that I know that I could confidently be like, okay, this person builds and develops apps or maintains it. You might get a website, but an actual app? What's the process behind that?
That's an interesting question. So I don't have a very straightforward answer, but I can give it to you in this way. I have a natural inclination to want to serve, want to solve a problem, want to provide a solution. So really and truly, out of that initial passion, seeing the tools that are now available through AI and large language models, LLMs, right, like ChatGPT, OpenAI, DeepGram, and so forth, I've been able to now take my passion for wanting to solve problems, attach it to AI tools, and the outcome is really solutions. So I usually tell people AI really amplifies everything that you are already, right? So if I bring 20% of my passion of wanting to solve problems, my understanding of those problems, my natural inclination to break down those problems and find small ways to solve them, AI could take my 20% and make it, quite frankly, 120%. So that is really it. I know it sounds like a little bit far-fetched, but really and truly, once you get into it and you start working with the different tools, you realize that what you have, I think what they say intrinsically, what you have intrinsically is then multiplied and amplified. So I solve solutions now.
Yeah, well, that's so cool. I mean, AI, most of us are using it. When I say most of us, let's say maybe the millennials and under. I don't think, well, I shouldn't really speak for them, but I haven't really noticed people that are in the generations above that utilizing AI well. But most people are now carefully approaching it. Should we be afraid? Should we welcome it? Or what would be your general guidelines when approaching AI?
I feel as if I answered, I'll give like a hot take. So
that's it.
So basically, if we're in the phase of still trying to figure out if we should fear AI or if we should utilize AI, we've sort of already been left behind. That train has already left the station a long time ago.
Left the station outside of Tobago or here?
Yeah, outside of here, Tobago, everywhere. All right, if that makes sense in context of what we're saying, right? And the reason I would say that is because if we don't approach AI now, and if we don't utilize the tools, and if we don't learn it as a society, and let's say Tobago, just as Tobago, we will end up, or our experience with AI would end up being shaped by someone else. So for instance, you would realize that, and I'll give you a great example. Initially, you could not get a Caribbean accent for AI. Like whatever tools you hear out there, we couldn't get a Caribbean accent. In fact, there was a point in time that even Siri, from a voice recognition standpoint, not AI, just voice recognition, couldn't really understand us too well.
That's true, because when most of us have iPhones and you're talking, you have to actually standardize your language. Exactly.
But you've realized with time that it's much better.
Yeah.
Right? Same thing with AI tools, where if you realize the first accent that came onto the landscape of things where AI is concerned, I should say that is conceptually in the Caribbean is Jamaica.
Of course, because I mean, in general, most people assume the Caribbean is Jamaica.
Yes.
And then we start hearing about the Trinidad and Tobago and the Bajans. Yeah.
So if you look at it, you would realize that the adoption for the most part was not worldwide, but let's use the US as an example. So the US adopted it, made it, for want of a better way to put it, right? And then you realize one of the first Caribbean elements that went into it or took its root was Jamaica. So it meant that us as Trinidad and Tobago, far less for us as Tobago, our voice, our identity, who we are, AI is not necessarily trained on that. And a large part of that has to deal with our perception of what AI is and what it represents and what it could do in society. So to sort of go back to what you said about a guide and what we should do, we should be in AI, because if we are in it, then we could sort of control the narrative. Else we will be living in someone else's narrative
reality of what. Okay, because I'm now hearing AI soca.
Yeah.
AI, all kind of things. I mean, storytelling and all of these things being programmed through AI. And if I'm being honest, it's getting closer and closer to the way that we sound. You know, we have a little sing-songy dictation or intonations. It is typically very musical.
But as you mentioned music, have you realized that a lot of the soca AI that is out there, right, actually sounds like some version of samba and Spanish music?
Yeah, it
mixing together.
It hasn't broken down yet to
exactly
what we know calypso-based soca.
Correct. No,
to sound like.
That is in part our problem as a people. I want to see, first off, soca within itself doesn't really have an established identity in terms of syncopation and actually categorizing it as soca, right, and then coming together as a society and saying this is what soca music represents, these are the elements that standardized soca music, and then having that blueprint actually out there. Far less for now AI being trained on soca, trying to figure out what it really is.
Also, essentially AI would just assume this is what it can sound like and start predicting close to it.
After being fed, I guess, a number of sample tracks or existing music. But in terms of the context of what makes soca, the rule set, the elements, that isn't really something that's standardized, and so AI can't really pull from it from a contextual perspective to say that this is the identity or representation of soca. A lot of other genres have that, right? So that is why I said that first, our identity, our culture is not really put together in a way that AI can be trained on that in the first place, far less for anything else that makes us Trimbigonian and, well, Tobagonian.
Okay, that is interesting. So essentially, since we haven't actually in its total fullness created our own independent identity, what would be the best way forward then? Because you're saying we should start adopting it, we should start utilizing it. But when we approach this thing, do we approach it attempting to be, because you have to remember, this is Trinidad and Tobago, some of us have a convent accent, and then some of us talk or regular Tobago, well, I wouldn't say patois, but or dialect. Some people have a patois. So within Trinidad and Tobago, there's a whole lot of dialectical differences. How do you approach this? Do you just go authentically as yourself and just say, well, how it hang it swing? Or do we try to morph it into something that it could be more accepted by the wider community as a representation for Trinidad and Tobago? So
the reason that's interesting is because you kind of had to tackle it from a perspective. Okay, so like if we set the tone, for example, if we're talking about the Trinidad and Tobago identity, by extension the Tobago identity as it relates to AI, and we're not limiting it just to music. Let's just say across the board, everything AI, being able to learn and understand who we are as a people to better relate to us, and that could, the output of that or the result of that could be better voice recognition, it could be music that is more relating to us, it could be writings or presenting data or information, even editing images that are more visually appeal to us or represent us as a people, right? That entire process really has to be informed by policy from a government level.
Hey.
Yes.
So the government has to get in front of AI?
The government has to do that. The reason I say the government has to do that is because we are so far behind that it would take the resources of the government to actually quite possibly launch a program that, one, runs AI model, an LLM, locally, that we can then ingest it with data that belongs to us. We're talking about our history, our culture, what makes us us, how we sound, our words, our stories, and then now have that model in a place that could then benefit citizens of the country when relating to it. As I said, else we will be subjected to living in someone else's narrative, because we're working with tools that are built on data sets that do not belong to us.
Okay, I get you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So from the standpoint of the man on the road, or the man on the street, or the person, the lady sitting at home, when you encounter these app and these different variations that AI might pop up, because we've seen AI popping up in WhatsApp. Mm-hmm. We're seeing AI popping up in, you're going to just take a picture. There are AI options to erase things, to represent things, to add. Do we just start being more conscientious with interfacing, or do we actively go out and start learning this thing, like searching up how do we work this, how to approach it?
So I think we may have to look at the element of fear, and maybe dealing with fear rather than dealing with AI. And the reason I'm saying that is because if we were to look at the root problem or issues, not really AI, is the fear of the unknown. And that is sort of driving the apprehension or resistance to the adoption of AI. So persons or groups of persons or society within itself would reject the utilization of these tools, not necessarily because of factual reason, let's say because it's dangerous or because it's not good for us, so it's going to take away people's jobs. Really and truly, if you were to look a little bit deeper, you would realize it's really fear. And that's okay, because there's so many examples in life where when advancement comes, or our advancement came, fear was the first thing that kept us back.
Okay.
Right? Really and truly. It's like, I remember speaking with some friends a couple of years ago when a lot of hybrid vehicles started to come into Trinidad and Tobago, and they were like, I'm not going and buy a hybrid vehicle, the battery going to mash up, and that. And these same people right now talking about buying a hybrid vehicle. They were like, Joshua, only go and buy them vehicle, and then we go see, only test it, and only now they are looking. But you see, people don't remember the fear, because everyone that's having the conversation about purchasing the hybrid vehicle, they have overcome the fear. So there's no need to even remember to say, what really ruled me was a fear. And I firmly believe that is what is happening right now when it comes to the integration, or rather the adoption of AI in our lives in Tobago.
I think that goes right back to the age gap situation that I started with, because the young people aren't afraid. Mm-hmm. Those Gen Xers, those Gen Zs, all of them, they are actively interfacing. Mm-hmm. I don't think, especially for school, I mean, they are asking AI anything underneath the sun. Yeah. Right? From writing papers to helping them with homework to whatever. But I think you're right. There has been some reason that people have been skeptical about AI, because if you're being realistic, from the perspective of people who may have probably done university before AI even arrived, when you're hearing people could basically write a whole paper, have academic sources, everything coming right out of an AI program, it makes you feel like, what was all my hard work and suffering for? Mm-hmm. You understand? And then on top of that, it's now making you feel as though people would lose their creativity. So
I want to speak to that, because that's an important point. Remember, initially what I said is AI amplified what I brought to the table. Mm-hmm. There's a misconception. AI doesn't give you anything that you don't have. If you approach any AI tool in any facet of life and you don't already have logic or
so foundation, like a basis.
Yes, of context to use with AI. AI is as useless as anything, as well. I can't say air because you need air, but you get what I mean. It's quite useless. So a common misconception is you can go to AI and it would solve your life's problems. It will not. It will actually get you into more trouble, because you would talk to different tools, or you would interface with it. It would give you information that is clearly incorrect, but because you yourself have no sort of foundation,
so you're probably not asking the right questions.
I wouldn't even say that. I would say that you have to, let me put it this way. In any AI tool that you would interface with, right? And when I say any AI tool, I'm not just talking about GPT and DeepGram and all of these, Suno and all these tools. but I'm talking about LLMs, the actual model that runs behind. Context is king. Context and content. Those are the two C's that really run the show. So you have to have context in order to get the best out of it. For example, if you're a lawyer and you usually vet contracts, you would need to have the experience for going through school to become a lawyer, to then draft a contract, to then even ask AI to vet that contract based on the context that you give it. So as a lawyer, you're telling AI, listen, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I want to identify. This is what I want to solve. So you bring your 20% and it is then multiplied by 10. Now imagine someone without a legal mind, no clue about a legal document, and then you ask AI, generate a legal document for me. More than likely, you would not have the capacity to vet that document to even know if it is still going to satisfy your needs or not.
I get you. I get you. That was a really good example, though. So essentially, AI should not be approached without having some basis or some information to begin with.
Correct. You have to have a foundation. You have to have something.
All right, so guys, this is not a situation where you come to the table with nothing.
You have to have something.
To have something to start with.
For example, AI right now is being used in music. You would see a lot of examples, and it would continue happening, where people with absolutely no musical inclination, no history of creating music, writing music, producing music, even touching a keyboard, utilizing tools to then represent themselves as artists. And this will happen for the foreseeable future. But the people that are really going to win when it comes to AI and music are actual producers. Because if you bring your talent, you know how to play, you know what you're looking for, you know the elements to put in.
Yeah.
Imagine you being able to produce naturally, without AI, 10 songs a day. Imagine what you can do as an informed creative with the tools versus someone who is literally coming to say, make this for me out of thin air.
Yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, sometimes in music production, it may not necessarily have a whole band behind you.
Yeah.
But you might know, okay, this music piece definitely needs some horns. It could do with a piano instrumental in the back. We could definitely have a drop here or something. I'm assuming that because there's AI, you could now pull all of these little songs or pieces together and then it makes something cohesive for you. But then again, because you're already inclined, you could then edit and be like, this is not what I'm looking for.
I'm the perfect example. If you ask AI to write soca for you right now, in fact, you could literally listen to a lot of the music that is being released today and you know AI wrote it, even though persons are not using AI voices, right? In fact, over the last 3 to 4 weeks, I've been hearing constantly AI songs being blasted over the place, right? And so one of the reasons that I'm able to know that is forget tone of the voice, forget how the music doesn't sound like us. There are just certain words that we do not use in Trinidad and Tobago when it comes to soca music.
Yeah.
So a simple thing like generating music, and if you don't have the inclination to vet it,
I think it's using too much words, actually. Soca is very simple.
Very simple.
And very rhymey.
And there are certain words that you would never ever hear in a soca song.
Yeah.
Right? That when AI writes it for you, once again, because our identity is not intertwined with it, and we are trying to ask it to learn something that we have no data to feed it with, and then we ourselves don't have a foundation to vet and say, okay, this is not us, we just get confused.
Fair. But that was a good point, though, because I actually picked up on it. I was like, why this song? I mean, it's almost like it's storytelling in a song.
Yes.
It has too much details.
Yes.
And I feel like when you hear groovy soca, it's like very simple.
Yeah.
A very straightforward, straight to the point, but everything is just cohesive, but it's not like you're explaining a long-winded story.
Yeah.
Trying to add too much words, too much beats. I could kind of see why we could still pick it out in a crowd.
Yes. Just from hearing the lyrical content, far less for the fact that it doesn't sound like us and the music is not soca.
What I think that they're coming pretty close with is how we look.
Yeah.
How we look. I mean, I saw AI Trini girl. I was like, no, this is how we look. They have representation for that. So I guess the more that we add to that database, is the closer and closer we'll have that identity for us. Okay, that's cool. So how do you then, and I'm speaking to you specifically, not you as in third person, right? How do you then utilize AI here locally? What have you done so far with it?
So I use AI primarily for coding. So my history, or not really my history, my background is cybersecurity and information assurance. And I have over 7 years of web development and actually working with different tools like WordPress to build websites. And Weebly was a big tool back in the day to build websites with drag and drop, right? And Squarespace. And so I've worked with domains and web development, VPNs, remote desktops, all of these different things. And so with all of the tools that are available to me now, as I said, amplify. So I could now do 100 times what I'm accustomed doing in 1 hour in that same hour. So I use AI to basically draft out concepts for websites, and I am now able to provide context as to what I want to build, and it would amplify my building time. In fact, it would take what I would usually take 1 week to do and do in literally 15 minutes. So it takes me from idea to iteration 1, iteration 2, iteration 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then final product in record time.
No, that is swift.
Yeah.
That is swift. I mean, for anybody who wants to do... Wait. It just occurred to me that... and this kind of hit me a little while. Like, within the last 2 weeks, someone would have engaged with me pertaining to building websites, and it's now occurring to me that they're probably just using AI to develop these things quickly, because I was asking, how fast can it be produced, and she was like, it doesn't take a lot of time, you just have to do the payment. So this could legitimately be a way for someone to make a full-blown business.
Yeah, it absolutely can be.
But does that then make it more affordable, seeing that it's more accessible? Or are we carrying on in the same typical vein of pricing based on the skill and time?
Really depends. So I have a personal view when it comes to building websites. So I would have done one class where I would have taught persons how to use AI tools to basically build websites to their businesses, right? So in the world of AI, you have things accelerating so quickly that eventually things that you would have used to make business models and make money, they become so accessible that it doesn't make sense monetizing them anymore. So then you have to start giving them away for free.
Yeah.
One of those things are website building. And when I say website building, these are not complex platforms with e-commerce and having to log in and working with authentication and databases. These are just, I usually say, virtual call cards. Like you have a business A, you set up a website, business A, and maybe have 3 pages, contact, about us, pricing, stuff like that. That is becoming more and more a staple. When I say staple, I mean anybody could access the tools to make those websites. So as much as that could become a business, I wouldn't really encourage it, because eventually it would fade away, like within the next 6 months. People who make websites as a career are going to unfortunately disappear.
Be placed out.
Yeah.
That is why people have fear of AI, right?
But you shouldn't.
You shouldn't, but it is legitimate fear. Because, okay, here's the thing. People's perceptions are their realities, no matter how you want to spin it around in the road, right? If you tell me I am a writer by trade, I studied, I did my master's, and boom, we have Grammarly Pro with AI, or we have some other writing tool that is coming out that can, and mind you, it is being used, because I would have seen a news agency, and you're seeing like the leading question stating, we can improve this, we can make this topic a little bit snappier in terms of the headline. That was a prompt that was left in by mistake, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that when you see these things, it makes you start to wonder, what's the point of an editor? And if it continues along that vein and it keeps getting better, isn't it going to remove the jobs that people now hold? And because of that, people are right to be afraid, because you would have...
So, you have a choice to be afraid. And honestly, I'm not saying that I would not have fear at some point in time in my life when a tool is created to maybe do majority of what I do now, right? However, we're living life, and evolution is mandatory in every aspect.
And adaptability.
Right? Now, these things are coming. We had a warning that these things are coming. For years, we knew that these tools are going to come into play, and we saw signs of it, right? Now, if you choose, and this is me personally saying this, if you choose to use the time that you have to be fearful rather than to amplify yourselves with the tools, then that is a conscious decision you're making to be fearful. So you're going to spend the next how much ever years being fearful versus amplifying until you reach a point of no return. And then at that extremely late last minute point, then you may make the decision to say, let me start to learn how to use this and amplify what I am doing now. So, for example, if you're into web development and AI come on the scene and AI building websites, you sort of now have to think, maybe my product was not web development. Maybe my product is brand management. And a part of that brand management was just one element, which is a website. So maybe I need to build websites. I need to map out your graphics. Maybe I need to tell you when you need to post on social media. Maybe I need to work alongside a stylist or someone to say, okay, let me manage your physical appearance when going out. Maybe I need to now write your press releases. So you see the evolution, and the tools will inform that evolution. Now, I could make a choice in that person's decision to be fearful or to say, I need to move from web development to brand management. And guess what? The same fear, the same energy to be fearful, you could put that into making your brand management company and be amplified in 72 hours. You could build out your company.
Okay.
And you could register it, and you could now be evolved and amplified by the same tools.
No, I'm not against AI, right? But I tend to take a more realistic perspective of how fast our local population adapts. And if I were to be honest, in my personal opinion, Tobago traditionally takes very long to even digitize, much less adopt and adapt. And I am wondering if there is space to do that, meaning that most of our processes are somewhat archaic. What is being done right now to give space for this thing to start moving forward, or for young people to start accessing permissions to get this thing to jumpstart our economy? Because I'm certain there's money to be made here. So what is happening there? Are you aware?
So I could tell you, once you start using words like economy and people and society, most of the time it goes to policy. So that change and that drive has to be informed by a policy. A policy like society or us as a people are moving forward in this vein, in this particular time, to ensure that these systems are kept up to date. And then that essentially affects the entirety of society. Because a lot of the systems that you're talking about didn't appear today. And these systems touch and are entwined with so many things we interact with, down to immigration form when you fly back into the country that you have to write still, right? And
in the little square boxes.
Exactly. So I know it's easy to sit here and say, okay, this should be changed now, and maybe the technology is there. But what I've been learning continuously is that because these systems are so integrated and there's so many levels to inform a policy change, one change, even though a small area is ready for it, because that small area is linked to so many other analog systems, it breaks the entire system. So if you're looking at it first from society, that's a policy, that's government, that's way above our pay grades in terms of changing. But when it comes to you and I personally, or friends and family, in terms of modernizing how we operate, even in our personal, businesses and places and stuff like that, I think we should pay keen attention to at least attempt to see what the tools are about. Because I could tell you, the tool I operated with literally last week has upgraded from 5.1 to 5.2 24 hours ago. It's much better, and I suspect before the end of the year it might be 5.5. So it's not just about the amplification in terms of my output, but it now means that I have to keep updated. In fact,
and seeing what these updates and upgrades are, you have to stay in. I
have had to subscribe to about maybe, I want to say 6 YouTube channels that ping me almost every 72 hours with an update to the tools that I use, because the tools are moving so quickly that as soon as I become proficient on the cutting edge, I become outdated within a week.
And you know that's the thing, because it's like, okay, you're saying that this is your field.
Yes.
This is your field. And from the point of view of somebody that's totally not my field.
Imagine.
And I'm like, okay, I want to get involved in this thing.
Imagine.
And it's like, oh, I have catching up to do.
So I can share a real experience with you. I started working on an app from July, right? I spent maybe a month to build this app. And after the month of building this app, I had to go through about 15 iterations of the app itself. I'll tell you why. So AI has a learning curve. When I say learning curve, let me sort of maybe invert that. Apart from the amplification, if I bring my 20% and AI puts its 100% on it, even if you remove AI, there's a level of percent that remains, because interacting with the tools, you start to legitimately learn and increase your foundation. It wouldn't be full 100% to learn, but you maybe go up like 40%, right? So I have now been able to learn things I did not know before at all, enhancing my foundation that now has made my work that I did 3-4 months ago outdated, because I've now realized that I could now even go further. So now let's come back to somebody that's not in AI and not operating with it. You could now sort of imagine, and I get the fear, I get the fear, but you could now imagine a year from now, imagine the work you would have to do if you have said a year ago, you're not getting into this, you're not learning it, is not good.
I'm getting flashbacks of upgrading from a Nokia into BBM. That's literally what's playing out right now with this. So it's either you get hip to it or you get left behind. That's as straightforward as it gets.
That is as straightforward as it gets. In fact, we were talking in one of the groups that I'm in, and we were able to develop something called Ask THA, which I've spoken about, where I realized the conversations online about the THA and the powers that the THA has not really grounded in facts. It's really more emotions and opinions and stuff like that, right? And I was able to take the Constitution of the Trinidad and Tobago, the THA Act, and the Representation of the People Act, and train a model on that and have it answer questions posed to it within the framework of the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago. Yeah. So what I did was I fed it the information, but I gave it context. Yeah. I said, any question you're answering, answer it from the Constitution, empowering the THA Act, right? And then based on anything that has to happen, see how it fits back into the framework of Trinidad and Tobago. And so if you ask it any question, if the THA can make its own laws, it would say yes, but there's a process that it has to go through, informed by the Constitution of the Trinidad and Tobago, right? And that was built in under an hour, from us talking in a group chat, realizing the problem, and then utilizing the tools and building that in 1 hour. Now, I could tell you, back in July, I would not have been able to do that so quickly.
Yes, because, I actually observed you doing it, because you said, what if? You asked a what if question on Facebook about it. And then literally the next morning, the app was live.
Yeah.
And I was confuzzled, baffled, taken up. I was like, how is it possible? Because in my mind, I was like, Joshua probably stay up all night doing this thing, because what kind of madness is this? No, I really, I was like, this is how fast it takes to build an app nowadays. And I'll give a couple minutes.
My God. No, I'll give you some context to that as well. Even outside the bounds of utilizing AI, I had to register a domain, I had to set up DNS servers. I had to upload the website after being coded by AI to a server, host it, and then allow the server to propagate. Now, those things that I did, that was my foundation.
That's your skill set, yeah.
That literally is my skill set. AI didn't assist me with that. I did those things myself. AI informed the actual platform. So now you can start to see the shaping and amplification taking place.
So it's really a hand-in-hand circumstance.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. You know what? But I do feel like there needs to be more people helping others equip, because the truth about it, it's a little bit unnerving to know what an app could do, but you don't know how to approach it.
Yeah.
Right? And we're still living in a context in Tobago where to access these apps, you need to have a credit card. You probably need to, in order to get these certain versions, you may need to be able to pay to download these things. It's not as accessible if you're not financially capable. Yeah. So how do we approach that? From what standpoint? We have to get over that financial curve in order to get into.
So you're now approaching another institution that is not the government, but beyond our control, which is the banking system. So
no, because it's like you're saying, all right, use AI.
Yeah. How
do we use AI? It's not just a downloadable, but download and pay.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So we have to backtrack it to, you have to get a credit card because it's not going to accept a debit payment.
Correct.
Right? So when we talk about these things, I expect that we talk about it from the point of view of the realities of it.
Yes.
Because for now, it's only a certain amount of people
could access.
Yes,
absolutely. And maybe that informs the fear too. Because you're saying that, and I did not consider that before. And so that is also a factor that informs the fear of it. It's true.
Yeah. So because there are limitations, and the world is just becoming a whole lot smaller. Certain processes long ago that you could have avoided, like how people used to avoid getting a credit card or avoid taking a loan, avoid all these processes. And it's not just AI, it's just the technology. It's squashing down that space of freedom that you once thought you had. So you could have said, I'm not going to take a loan, but you may need to do something and you need to have some credit history. You may need to have...
Correct.
And all of these things are informed by technology. So even for our age group and for those of you that are watching the program tonight, it shows that if you hang back too far back in the back, you could really get leave out here.
Unfortunately, because I know people say a lot of articles and people talk and say, in this year, X amount of jobs will not be available. I know that could be fearful, but I could tell you 6 to 8 months ago, I was not an AI solutions engineer. I could guarantee you that. I had to now utilize my skill set, choose my mode of amplification, because I had to dedicate myself to say, okay, I'm going to use these tools for development rather than creativity, rather than working with imagery. I had to choose where I wanted to focus, zone into that, and then I realized that my position became quite clear in terms of how I could operate in society.
And how you can harness the technology.
And for the foreseeable future, as the tools begin to upgrade, I have now been able to step into a new role, completely new, that would not have existed 3-4 years ago. And anybody could do that. Once you have a foundation, and if you don't have a foundation, then you absolutely need to build one and utilize that built foundation to then be amplified by the tools around us. I understand access may be a problem, but there are still so many free tiers of tools available.
Start where you're at.
Literally tap into it and see how you could benefit from this. There are doctors that are in difficult situations on a daily basis that consult tools. In fact, GPT is now the new YouTube. Remember when you used to go to YouTube to look for tutorial video? I don't even consult. I don't even ask Google where to find a website that sells this or where to find a business. I literally ask GPT, yo, where can I get this particular type of cable? You know, let's say we're making an extension cable for aux, right? We're looking for a 3-core Rhino cable, 2.5 gauge, I think that is it, right? And ask GPT, and GPT would tell me the local businesses that have this particular type of cable available. And so if you realize people are now moving from large form, that is not the right way. I think it's from video format where you have to search through the video. You ever find yourself watching a YouTube video, but you really need something specific, and you're scrubbing. I'm like, after a while, it's like, no, I can't go through this again. GPT now gives you it directly, and so people are now consulting.
I mean, that has its pros and its cons, because I do feel like people are not learning the basics anymore.
No.
Okay.
No, I can't say that, eh?
No, I can't. Because there's certain things that benefit you when you learn extensively, foundationally about a skill that you can reflect on and say, okay, if I have a problem here, I could modify the skill based on, because that's just scaffolding, right? Normal processing, because I would have equipped myself earlier on. If you ask for something direct, it's like when teachers used to beat you a long time, how did you get the answer? Show me, right? The formulation. Now that could present itself if you're using it in a context, a professional context, and maybe a client would like to know, how did you come up with this?
Yeah.
And you use ChatGPT and you just got a result. It can create some difficulties.
So what you're mentioning has nothing to do with AI. That's a people problem. Because way before AI, people cheated, people lied, and people used to BS people. It's just that we're doing it in a different form, in a more enhanced way that is maybe more difficult to detect. So let us not blame AI for the fact that people naturally have tendencies to take advantage of tools and by extension take advantage of others. It's the same way. Doctors, you could go and flip through a book, get very specific with an illustration that you don't have experience with, and try to mimic it. AI just gives you that same direct answer, but it then falls back on you and the type of individual you naturally are and how you use that information.
Yeah, but I mean, it does have some merit for people still needing to do the basics. And
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Because, I mean, from my perspective, I've seen people using AI for everything, down to asking AI like mental health advice, you know,
relationship advice, yes,
all kind of things.
What to name a child? This is what going on between me and my husband. What to do? Can you help? Can you generate a prayer for me so I can pray? Very real.
Just now, AI got generate a God for people to worship because what's this? No, but I mean, nothing is too far fetched these days.
Yes,
or out of the question, you know. So AI is it's the modern world, and that is just what it is. And I don't think there's a going back from here. There's no regression.
So if we were to look at AI and take away, let's demystify AI for a second, right? All AI is a huge library with a dedicated librarian who knows where every single book, every single chapter, every single line, and every single word, every single letter is in that library. You are speaking to the librarian.
Okay.
So you go to the librarian and you ask for something and you provide context. And based on what the librarian has in their library, they then seek it out and regurgitate it to you based on the context that you requested. If AI did not exist, we would go physically into a library
and go page by page.
We would go and talk to the librarian and say, this is what you're looking for. They would direct us to a section. We would go and look in the section, find the book, sit down in a quiet spot, open that book, read through, find the specific information, and take note. All AI does is closes the gap. Really and truly, one of the greatest technological feats in this world was a fax machine. Everything else is just literally built on that. So AI songs amazing. It sounds like this out of this world, untouchable thing that just popped up and we're utilizing. But really and truly, AI is just closing gaps. In fact, any piece of technology, albeit with its disadvantages and damages to society in some way or the other, it just closes the gap. The same way with the train, the horse, and well, vehicle.
Yeah.
Just close the gaps.
Fair enough. So guys at home, that was a big mouthful. That was a lot to take in. I do hope that each of us could start implementing some version of AI wherever wherever you could utilize it in your life.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to say AI isn't helpful. AI is extremely helpful. Based on what field that you're in, AI can move mountains.
You know what's even more helpful? Having a foundation and using AI.
Yeah, and you know what, I agree, because that is what I was basically posing my question based on. Yeah. So guys, I'm going to be asking Joshua some more questions, but this time not on AI. Joshua has I wouldn't even call it a secret business, because I'm very certain that all of us probably would have interacted with this company and benefited from what we would have heard. And I'd like to ask Joshua, how in the world did you come up with a music company? When did that happen? Tell me all about it.
That's an interesting question. I think, well, my father was always into music. He opened one of the first recording studios that was in Triangle Building years ago, right? And I would have always had an inclination for music, because he also had a studio at home in Dallaford, and just love music, love computers. And somehow, I think one day I spoke to Glenroy. I don't know how I got connected to Glenroy. Somehow, Glenroy Waldron. And then I said, Glenn, I feel like opening an audio company, boy. Let me link up on. And then we began speaking to more people and basically bringing them on board. And we started doing really and truly events. I think Ox was birthed out of a problem. And the first problem was all of us are Christians and we belong to some sort of denomination that believes Christ is Lord, right? And so we wanted to be a part of the solution where providing audio for churches are concerned. So it started off with where we were solving an internal need. Yeah. And then out of that actually came a business that is now able to stand on its own and operate in different spaces where events are concerned.
All right. But I realized that Ox is able to fit into almost any style of event, because I'm seeing from very simple productions to very large stage productions. How did it evolve from where you started to what it is now? So
I would say Ox has a very particular skill set where technology is concerned. So sort of, I know we touch on AI and we come back to music, but we were able to, from a very early age, Dima Bonner is our actual head of engineering, and he has really great ideas when it comes to mixing and matching different pieces of equipment. So we were able to develop very particular systems and then speak to manufacturers in China and actually have them manufacture not just a box but cables and different elements of our key systems that are tailored specific to our needs. And we were able to ship in these parts and actually assemble them in Tobago. So we sort of usually boast that we are the first assembled Tobago box, but I know other people make boxes out there. So, you know. But to get to the point, we began integrating ourselves, even though we may not do an event that is branded Ox, like do the entire event. We usually play some sort of role because we have technology that usually fits in for very specific needs within that event, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. But I mean, Joshua, not only did I realize that that the company has scaled really uniquely, but the sound quality, there has to be some intention behind that. Tell me about it.
So that is a very good question. So sound quality, I must admit, some sound quality is subjective, right? And in fact, I would go to say 200% of song quality, or whatever song quality represents to anyone is subjective. You know, something singing good. People like more bass, people like more treble, people like all sorts of different things. So when you're mixing for an audience, and I want to use this as an example, when you're mixing audio for an audience, as an engineer, you have to mix for everyone in context of who's there, the age of the crowd, the people that you see, to see the movement, the type of music that is being played, and try to make the best decisions to appease most people. Right now, with that comes a huge responsibility, where having high quality equipment fights, or I should say takes care of maybe 70% of the work. Having equipment that sounds good, has good coverage, and has good power, whether it be indoor and outdoor, at least for us, and that's part of our technology framework. We actually have one of the smallest line array systems. It's dual 10-inch line array boxes that has exceptional throw and exceptional width in terms of coverage, and it isn't heavy. So 2 persons could set up our entire sound system with our hydraulic lift, versus someone who has, like, let's say, dual 15-inch boxes that need 10 men and a truck.
Because you know them speakers just be
heavy. So we have opted into a small form factor system that absolutely does not lack the power of a large format system, right? And then when we go to different events, depending on the configuration of the event, because we do a lot of events that we don't mix, right? We do a lot of events that we're involved in that we rent equipment for, or we manage equipment, or we install the stage or run the stage, but we don't do the front of house. So it's a little bit of, it's a lot of different configurations across the space, right? But in an event where we control the front of house, the stage, and maybe all of the elements of it, we first have to understand the client, the genre of music that is being played. Of course, if it's a band, if it's a DJ event, and then along with the equipment that we would have made the decision to bring in and utilize, ensure that we mix the audio to appease mostly everyone.
Okay, that's very unique. Joshua, I'll ask you this last question, because I know that I will ask the questions tonight. What involvement do you have, or what do you intend to do in terms of developing the youth going forward? Because it's not just a sound company, but I'm seeing a lot of interplay between musicians, between sound techs. Are you training? Are you just simply sticking to what you have now? What do you think that you'll pursue where that is concerned?
So Ox has always had the intention to train, although we have not been successful at it due to time constraints and team constraints in general. But the company has a mantra where we actually want to edify persons that are within the company. So everyone in the company always hears say that Ox is really meant for persons that are in the company to more so benefit. And so within our structure as a company, we actually have a share, or should I say a ownership structure that's very flexible. So we believe that persons coming into a company and giving of themselves should be rewarded with some type of ownership. So everyone in Ox has a sense of ownership, and also the intention is to back up that sense of ownership with actual paper to say that you own a piece of the company. That is really unheard of, and nobody really does that.
That is very unique.
But in this day and age, especially in our society where you have so many companies doing so many things, I feel as if this is a mechanism we can use to edify people and to really build them up. And of course, yes, jump on the training. We actually work with a lot of small churches in training them, and also we do a lot, Darian can tell you, we do a lot of give back events. So up to the point of where sometimes we just get bad up for it, but we do a lot of events where persons talk to us, they have a particular vision, they explain that money there may be some constraints, and we go and work with them and ensure that we assist them in pulling off the event. 2026, to go straight back to training, I really think will play a greater role in working with the youths outside of our immediate space, actually going and working with them and giving them a taste of what our company could really do.
Excellent. So, Joshua, in closing, where can we see Ox in the next year? Where can we see you all in terms of in public spaces, events, and those type of things. Tell me a little bit about that, and let the Tobago community, and by extension Trinidad and the Caribbean, know how they could actually access these services.
Yeah, so we have a website, aux.tt, aux.tt. It has a list of our gear, our team members, and how to contact us, along with some client testimonials, logos of persons we have worked with. In the next year, I want to say our 2026 vision has been to continuously increase our quality of work across the board. And so we have actually taken time, or we are taking time now, to not just learn the equipment we have now, but to prepare ourselves for even more advanced equipment, more advanced processes in the world of audio. And we always say this, one of our greatest accomplishments is the fact that we want to make sure that the client, by extension the musicians involved in an event, the actual, I want to say, stakeholders in the event, feels as if we are giving them the best possible service. It doesn't mean that things don't happen or things outside of our control, but we want to ensure that persons feel heard and that we make them feel as comfortable as possible on the stage. And so 2026, I would say you'll see us all over. Yeah.
That sounds great. So guys at home, I hope that tonight's episode was very impactful for you all. I pray that and hope that you all do take this AI conversation seriously. I know I haven't really heard a lot of people have a full discourse about AI, and it was necessary to do so because your children are going to be using it, people at work are going to be using it, and you don't want to be left behind. You know how we just feel about Granny asking us how to unlock the phone and all that. Just imagine that being you. So get it together. I hope for all our sakes, right? And I do hope that you'll seek out Aux, book them, support the company. Joshua, thank you for coming on. And guys, always stay tenaciously resolute in all that you do, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye and good night. Welcome to the Tenaciously Resolute Podcast.